Hi and welcome. Welcome back if you've been here before. I've been planning to do a reading for the root chakra as part of a series for all the energy centers, and what would be helpful to know as we have been going through almost an upgrade on the planet. And our chemical change in our bodies, our nervous systems, our energy, our psyche, our soul, with all the astrological transits, the solar flares, the Earth's frequency rising. The last number of years have been extremely transformative, and more of us are becoming aware of not just our physical reality but our spiritual world as well. And understanding that spirituality and science and everything else is so similar and so connected, and the more we understand, the better we can live, right? So the first chakra is the root chakra, and I decided to use the archetype cards for this because what I've been experiencing is, as we have solar flares or astrological transits, or just triggers in our world, it brings our awareness to certain aspects of who we are, how we behave, how we present ourselves. I mean, if you look at your birth chart, if you are a water sign, you might be really emotional or sensitive or psychic in that way, but you have other aspects to your birth chart. But there are certain aspects of ourselves that is developed by our experiences from birth, right? So you might think that you are really shy and introverted when you just had certain experiences in your life that made you feel like you could not be sociable and that you can't connect with people, or there might be some fears there. And this is directly related to our root chakras, and when we become aware of these things, we can decide to consciously create and be differently and be more of our authentic selves, and a higher version of who we are. Not a different version, but a better version. So, the root chakra is red, and I decided to pull out all the red stones that I had close by, and crystals are a nice way to work with our root chakra or our energy centers, and just color in general. You know, wearing red if you are working on your root chakra, meditating with these crystals, or doing listening to frequency music that works on the root chakra. I am not very clued up. I know a little bit about astrology, a little bit about crystals, and I just share what I know. Tiger's eye. Sometimes the shades, how dark a crystal is, can change, and then it's a bit difficult for me to identify. But we have a red garnet. This doesn't look red, but in the light, and you look through it in the light, it's red, a really dark red. So this is red garnet. We have tiger's eye, carnelian, red jasper, and all these crystals have different properties. Like red jasper and all these red crystals help with grounding, and red jasper specifically helps with passion and protection. I don't want to go through all the different stones, but generally our root chakra is about security, or survival, and how we feel connected to the earth, how we feel safe. And if we have experiences like an unstable childhood or unsafe experiences or trauma, we can feel fears and have blockages in our root chakra that makes it difficult for us to connect to our root chakra, and makes it difficult for us to stabilize our energy. And sometimes there are specific scenarios that will play out in our lives that will show us an indication of where our root chakra might be underactive or blocked. It is basically your foundation. And we know that if you don't have a stable foundation, everything else on top of that is going to be unstable as well. Right? So let's look at what possible things could come up with our root chakra in our psyche. Now, this is a scenario that I'm going to try and bring through here. There can be many different. This might resonate with you or not. Take it or leave it. This could be for someone specific or for a number of people and not necessarily for you. Always use your discernment. Now, when we get a red card to begin with, we have the Samaritan. Light attribute refines your capacity to help those you would prefer to ignore. And the shadow attribute is exacting appreciation and recognition for the help you offer. And these types of archetypes and how we act them out is on a spectrum. It can be just a little bit or a lot of it. And we can sometimes flip between the light and the shadow attribute. And it's just about having an awareness so that we don't act from preconditioned programming, and in a moment you can choose how you respond instead of just reacting in the same way, right? So it refines your capacity to help those you would prefer to ignore. So for some of us, say you've had many experiences of people taking advantage of your kindness. So now you have this block where you don't feel like you can trust anyone. And so you don't want to help anyone even when you can. Or you don't trust yourself enough to know how to discern when you should help someone and when you shouldn't. When you have the capacity to help someone and when you don't. Why would we ignore someone that is in need? I mean, there can be many reasons, and that was just one that came to mind where you've been taken advantage of before. Say people always did for you, and things always came easy to you through your life, and you did not ever develop the awareness that, or the empathy that you can help others when they are in need. And some part of your psyche is all about receiving and not about giving. So there's an imbalance there. Or exacting appreciation and recognition for your help. Say there's some part of you that never received validation for what you do, the good you do, the person that you are. And so you do things only because you want people to praise you or to recognize you. And it comes from a need and an egoic place, and not from a Samaritan, a open-hearted place. Or it boosts your ego because some part of you feels less than or not enough because of some experience. And so you can be an overgiver or a people pleaser, and that makes you feel good about yourself, when in reality or in an ideal world we should feel good about ourselves just as we are, and not live in extremes where you don't give or you overgive. And we can constantly shift between these on the spectrum of these archetypes, and between the light and the shadow aspect. The second card is the beggar, and this is a blue card which is connected to the throat chakra, but she's wearing red as well. Confronts empowerment at the level of physical survival. Awakens the spiritual authority of humility, compassion, and self-esteem. And the shadow aspect is dependence on others to the exclusion of effort. So that is being so dependent on others that you don't even try, you don't think you can, you don't believe you can. You lack self-empowerment, self-confidence, and those are the other chakras. But the basis is that if you were connected to yourself, you would be able to ask for help when you need it in a balanced way. But you would have also tried. You ask for help if you really, really need it, or you've made multiple attempts and you can't, and not as a way to validate your own lack of self-worth or self-confidence or fears, the fear that you can't do something. And it's not, this is not to shame or guilt you. Say people had always told you that you can't do that as a child. Eventually you grow up to believe that you can't do things. And now you have to get past that mental programming, that belief that is often subconscious, to realize that you can. And I have this experience with my son, where he'll say he can't do something, and there are times when I say yes you can, and he just says no. When I've learned that if I just allow the situation to play out in such a way that he tries it without me pushing him or telling him that he can, just maybe continue with the game, and his curiosity will get him to attempt it, and then he sees that he can, and then he believes that he can once he's actually had the experience. So it's like, when you fail, do you tell yourself that this is just reinforcing the inner belief that I can't? Or when you fail, are you able to see that maybe there were external circumstances, maybe I can try again, maybe this is just life and failure is not bad? So there's a level of empowerment and humility, compassion, but also self-esteem with this archetype. So I feel like these two go together. Like, do you feel like a beggar when you're asking because certain circumstances in your life where you asked, you had negative responses, or you didn't get the things, your basic needs met when you were a child, and so now you feel like a beggar when you might ask someone for help with something, and they don't see that as begging. They see that as, oh, my friend is asking me to help and I'm happy to do that. But in your mind, in your energy, she's closing her eyes, you might be afraid to ask for help because you've had negative experiences before. And sometimes when we put ourselves in this energy, or we find ourselves in this energy, then the way we ask for help will elicit the same response and reaction from the other person that we are fearing or we don't want. Child nature, friendships with animals, communication with nature spirits. The shadow is tendency to abuse animals, people, and the environment. I'm not going to go into this card because this feels like heart chakra stuff, but I feel like what this card meant to bring up is that a lot of experiences happen subconsciously in our childhood. And then if we have emotionally, physically, mentally safe spaces and interactions and relationships from an early point in our life, our root chakra is more stable and more balanced. And it's always helpful to have a look at, do I feel safe and comfortable around people that I know, but in the workspace I don't feel safe and comfortable? And why is that? Or I feel safe and comfortable around, say I prefer having male friends and just friends, and I feel uncomfortable around other females as a woman. Why is that? What was my relationship with my mother like, or the other females in my life? And so you might perpetuate negative experiences with other females because you've had negative experiences with one specific female or many earlier on in your life. Um, so when our root chakra is more stable, we will feel more empowered because our other energy centers will have this solid foundation of feeling safe. And I feel like safety is a big part of everything. You know, feeling safe in our bodies, feeling safe with feeling and expressing our emotions, feeling safe with communicating, um, feeling safe with just being in this world. And that can be difficult, especially in times of conflict and social unrest and economic issues, and a lot of change and transition. Our root chakras, even if there is, you don't have this kind of childhood trauma or inner wounds from previous experiences, the instability we're experiencing now can shake our foundation a bit. Saboteur, I'm not going to go into that card too much. We can self-sabotage certain things because we feel unsafe. So you might be offered a new opportunity, say to do a podcast with someone or to be interviewed for something that you've done, but there's an imbalance or a blockage in your root chakra, and so that makes it difficult for you to communicate in certain situations, and so you give yourself reasons why you can't do the podcast, or your body betrays you and you just can't speak when in everyday normal conversation you are really eloquent and you communicate really well. When we are afraid, we send out subconsciously, our energy sends out a frequency of, I am afraid of meeting new people. And you might really want to meet new people and make new friends, but that blockage in your root chakra sends out the frequency that I'm afraid. So people might see you and meet you and not then feel your discomfort, and so they don't feel comfortable speaking to you and getting to know you, right? And these blockages in our energy centers can cause physical symptoms and illnesses as well. You might suffer from hip pain or lower back pain if you have a blocked root chakra. If you're female, you might have severe menstrual cramps, or you might feel pins and needles in your legs or have issues with circulation in your lower body. The red feels like it can be related to blood. You might be anemic. There's a lot of different symptoms that you can feel when you have a root chakra blockage, and you can even put on weight or retain weight in certain areas of your body because of certain blockages in your digestion, for instance. I don't want to make these videos too long. There's so much that can be said about these energies, these things. Our health and well-being is dependent on not just the physical and our experiences, what we eat, if we exercise, but on our mental state, our emotional state, and our spiritual state as well. We have the Emperor here, and this is from the Neo Tarot, which is a self-care type deck with really nice advice and guidance for self-care. So it's really important to be able to tap into our bodies and to be able to feel. You can, when you pay attention enough and you practice or you become sensitive enough, you can feel if there's a blockage in your root chakra. Do you have digestive problems? Do you have pain somewhere in your hips or your lower body? And you can even just feel the energy, even if there's no blockage. You can feel when your root chakra is active. or activating or opening up. It can be related to your sexuality as well, and how you feel about your body and expressing those, what is the word? Those human feelings and needs. Um, and the Emperor is a number 4 card, which is fours is stability, foundation, and protection. And again, I feel like there's father stuff coming up here. Like, did you have healthy masculine protection, whether that comes from a male or female, and stability in your life? Were the people that were around you, were their energy stable, or were they erratic, and was the environment chaotic? Did somebody model healthy masculine energy to you, where you can be assertive without being aggressive, where you can take the Emperor is Aries energy, when you can take initiative or lead without control or manipulation? Um, were those aspects modeled to you, and were you able to experience them, and hence have learned how to embody that energy? It's not just about the action, it's about the energy as well. Um, let's see what the self-care tip is for the Emperor. Like, do you have a fear of authority figures like the police, for instance? Because we know in this world there are racial things, and countries, communities, certain demographics where there is racial profiling, and certain things that just the mere sight of a policeman or a police van or car would incite certain fears or feelings of insecurity within you because of what you've witnessed. Um, and I feel like for a lot of us, even if it's not racial or something to do with, say, police, that the other authority figures in our lives, like the government, or for instance, how the culture was in a working environment before. I realize now that bosses and managers, if you're, in your early 30s or in your 20s, and yes, there are bosses and managers that are in their 20s, or employers, they would be a lot different to the bosses that are much older, or if you are much older and in the um, and working, back then you might have been told what to do, and there might have been some sort of I'm having a difficulty expressing myself, and that's not usually how it is. Say you were told when to do, how to do, your well-being wasn't taken into account in the workplace. You had to show up if you were sick, whereas now there's a different culture where you can speak to your boss without having to speak to them as if they are a superior being, even if they are in a higher position. You don't have to be afraid of them. You don't have to be afraid of expressing how you feel. There's a different culture, and that can be with the government, with even in relationships, the relationships between men and women. How a woman had to show up in a relationship to her husband is a lot different now, and vice versa. um, we all deserve to be able to feel and embody a certain type of authority over our own selves and our own lives, um, your own agency, and not feel victim, beggar, less than to anyone else. And that doesn't have to put you in a superior position. There's a balance to it. The self-care tip here is saying no is difficult at best of times, but learning how to do so is a crucial part of reclaiming your agency. There we go. Look for situations where you might be taking the path of least resistance against your better judgment. Instead of acquiescing, I can never say that word, dig in your heels, defend yourself with clear, non violent communication. Make yourself heard, and you'll be surprised how willing to compromise at the least people are. You know, and this can be something small like you prefer to squeeze the toothpaste from the bottom and not from the top. And you can make certain choices or set certain healthy boundaries or just express your preference. Or it can be something severe where somebody is enforcing something on you that you would prefer not to do. In relationships or globally, there are certain things that are happening right now that it almost threatens our security, our safety, and our stability, where um yeah, I'm not going to go into examples of this because this could drag on forever and ever. But where in your life can you practice saying no without, and once you really tap into and work with these energies, you can say, for instance, if you have a very bossy, authoritative parent, right? And your parent wants you to join them every Sunday for Sunday lunch when you are in a place in your life where you're studying or traveling or meeting new people, or you just want to be by yourself and rest, or you need to rest because you've had a busy week. And if you say no to your parent once, there's an argument or it escalates and it becomes ugly. Your parent might be good in every other way, but in that way, you have some anxiety about speaking to your parent and saying no, and that sense of agency is taken away from you in that instance. Can you notice how you feel triggered and how there's a fear of speaking to your parent? And is that fear real? And how can I work around it? And how can I find a balanced approach? And how can I express how I feel? And how can I heal that aspect of myself and have a better relationship with my parent without feeling like I need to change them? And do I need to accept this behavior as just a part of who they are? Or do I need to choose to not allow this behavior to continue? And again, there's spectrums to this. There's shades of gray and not always black and white. That is the message for this root chakra reading. Let me know if you found this helpful and how it relates to you or resonates with you. I might in future do more. I will do the other chakras and readings for that, but I might do it again, another one for the root chakra, and maybe get more specific scenarios and how to work through it. And like there's so many aspects to this, like the health aspect, the physical health aspect, and the symptoms that you could be feeling, and how that can affect you and turn into something chronic, or how that can make you show up in relationships, or um, there's so many aspects to look at. So I might do more of those readings, but let me know how this resonates. If it was helpful, if you've made it this far, please like, share, comment, and subscribe if you would like to join me in another reading. I will be doing the other energy centers, the other chakras, sometime this week. Thank you for joining me and have a wonderful day.